Hello, we're live. And hi. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. That came in right away. Welcome to the quality coding stream, whatever this is. Welcome back, Mudshark and Dota to Attitude. Yes, I do work at Industrial Logic. It is my dream job. Like, unbelievable. I'm with these incredible people. And for some reason, some of them look up to me and, well, actually, I shouldn't say some. It's a wonderful job. And that is where I work as a coach and trainer, working with companies around the world. You had a dream job? Oh no! Now they are talking about scaled agile. That is where, that is unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. Scaled agile, safe. There's a saying, I forget who came up with it. Maybe Joe Rainsberger. And that is, you change your environment or you change your environment. That is, you affect change in your company, which is a hard thing, or you get out. And getting out might be the way to maintain your sanity, because scaled agile is really anti-agile. It's dark, dark patterns. Yeah, sorry to hear that. For those of you who are just joining, or who are watching after the fact, on YouTube or on Twitch, welcome. So what I do is I do some live coding for the next hour or so. And lately we've been working on a refactoring exercise in Swift and around tennis scoring. So that is what I plan to do. Oh, but I forgot to say, put the hello in the chat there. Any news on the album front? Do you mean in terms of Industrial Logic e-learning? I'm not sure what you mean there, Mudshark. Okay. Yeah, I have not been working on new e-learning because I've been busy with a client. Actually, I could share one thing. So we've got the public events and this industrial iOS. I don't think these dates are going to work for me anymore, because hey, yay, I have a corporate client that signed up for time other than these, and that in fact overlaps this time. So I'm probably going to bump the public offering of the industrial iOS. I was surprised because I said, are you sending your iOS developers through this? Because my impression was that this workshop was geared for people who were kind of new-ish, maybe new to iOS or new to programming. And in fact, this company said that most of their folks were juniors and brand new, really, to programming, like in the last 3 years or so. So I was like, okay, great. Then this is the workshop for you. We're in the process of doing some basic, I say basic. I shouldn't say basic. I was going to say basic iOS stuff. But that's not appealing. and I think what I teach is not basic at all. These are tricks of the trade. and many tricks that folks don't know, especially around working effectively with feedback, getting fast feedback from each other and from your tests. And that sort of undergirds the content of the workshop. Anyway, so that'll be moving. Yesterday, if you go to the Industrial Logic Twitter, or the Hellscape now, that's owned by Manchild, we did a Twitter space that's like an audio call-in show. And that was me. I was the special guest this time, talking about how to turn your next defect into a win, how to manage bugs. And it went in some directions that I wasn't expecting. But the recording is now up, so you can go there and just hit play recording and listen. The first part is just us like waiting and ramping up, and it might have even included the part where I thought I was muted, and so I'm clearing my throat to prepare to talk. It's great, right? So professional. That's the news on that front. Let's get to coding. What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? Let's, we are here. And there are various, for those of you who are new to this exercise, there are various versions of the same scoring tennis game 1, 2, and 3, and the tests run over them all. As long as we stay in green, we can make changes. And we've made quite a few changes working in tennis game 1. I was starting to think, am I starting to run out of the end, towards the end of this? And then I realized, there's 2 and 3, and they look completely different in terms of the types of smells they bring. So I think this might be a good thing to continue. But there's some basic things I'd like to work on. First of all, what are my thoughts on acceptance tests? Thank you for the question. Yes, but not so many. And in terms of, okay, let me tell you a little bit about Swift UI. Not Swift UI, UI tests. UI tests. People in iOS land tend to equate acceptance tests with UI tests. And I think that is a mistake. That we should try to write acceptance tests that basically aren't driven by something poking buttons, literally poking buttons from the outside. It's too slow. But it might be a good start to say, okay, something needs to go here, and this text ought to be somewhere in here. Like, not very specific. Like, if we go here, we should see this. But there are all kinds of acceptance tests. And acceptance test tends to, I think, lean towards a more BDD style of testing, where you say you have 2 loops, the outer loop and the small inside TDD loop, where the outer loop is like, if this whole thing works, then it's good, and it's going to stay red. And we're going to stay inside. When NPC is renamed, then it returns 200. Which queries the API, creates a character with a name, then hits the API, renames the character name. Oh. See, to me, that strikes me as a test of the service, the back end. Yeah. And I've written tests like that. And there's nothing wrong with them, but I keep them separate. I would want that ideally to be done outside of my iOS app situation. Although yeah, okay, that's cool. But I wouldn't want to use, the app code to do that. There's something funny about that. It is smelly. It's too for an acceptance test. I feel like it's too narrow. It feels more like a unit test of the API of the backend. If that makes any sense. For an acceptance test, I feel like I would want to see, like, what is the business value, not does it return 200. Does that make sense? I want acceptance tests higher up, around user value, not around fiddly bits. Yeah. And there are various ways to think about that, and there's no hard rules about any of this, right? That all we're trying to do is make our lives better and make it easier. Maybe it's just wording, can rename a new character. We have a whole e-learning class on user stories, which is excellent e-learning. And I went through that and learned a ton, like even about how to name the stories. How much? I'm not sure. Let's see. E-learning. And there's the popular ones, but you view all. Composing user stories. Let's see here. Yeah, this was a really good one. How much is it? $200. So, if that's a lot for an individual. That is nothing for if you have a corporate budget behind you that says you get so much, to work on training. But like now that I've gone through this training, it's really good. This one, I would say not can rename a new character. I'd be like, who is it? Who is the user? And it might be user renames character. Like that might be the user story, the title of it. Wonder what. Hey, if you're investing in yourself, wow, that's like the best kind of investment, and hopefully it's paying off for you. Thank you for your question. There's a lot to explore there. A lot of like I said, there are no hard and fast rules about this. What we're trying to do is make it easier for us to make changes, to get those changes into real people's hands so that they get the value as soon as possible. That's sort of the heart of Agile to me, and so that they can tell us right away, hopefully even before we ship, is this what you want? And they're like, yeah. Oh, but it would be nice if, right? And then it's the whole process of working together to develop software. That's a big question, and I love it. And I love that there's nuance around it. All right, we've got player. Any particular courses? Hey, yeah, this one is killer. I don't know your background. Check it out. A lot of these, anything that's coding related, you'll have to see which languages are supported, which programming languages. The standard, well, not standard. Here, the most popular ones are up at the top here. Let's code. Player. Actually, let me start at tennis game 1. That's where we are. Oh, that is player. You know, it's kind of funny that player lives in here. I think it's time to move it out. It doesn't do very much. I have a feeling this might change, but let's move it out. Now, in other JetBrains IDEs, I can just hit F6 and it will say, oh, you want to move player. Unfortunately, the Swift support is not good. I think Objective-C app code has more smarts about, oh, you want to move this class, not the whole file. So we do it the old way. Cut. Player. Yes, don't ask me again. Add this. Paste. Test. And because I'm doing, oh yeah, there's lots of great stuff in there to check out. He absolutely did write the book. Josh Kirievsky, the CEO of Industrial Logic, wrote Refactoring to Patterns. Yeah, I had him sign that book for me well before I ever dreamed of working for Industrial Logic. Okay, so player moved out, and because I am doing TCR, test and commit or revert, I ran the tests and it committed. So that's good. That's an improvement. Look at this. Game is, this smells. It smells like an anemic class to me. It's not really doing anything. It's just a data holder. So there's something in here, and maybe some responsibilities will move in there. I'm not sure. But let me pull this out too. Right? DTOs, data transfer objects. Yes, data transfer objects are fine. This was game. Data transfer objects are just, in Swift, they're just structs, right? It's just bags of data. They don't have to do anything. But I have a feeling, so in that sense, a DTO is not an anemic type. It's serving a very particular purpose. Yeah, this was the data clump smell that we were solving. And so it suggests that there are probably methods that might move in here. We will see. Let's keep going back to tennis game 1 and see what else we have here. Return lol. Okay, so moved stuff around. That's better. It takes the players and makes a game and holds on to that. Oh, now this is something. If player name is game player 1 name, then it calls point. Point is kind of a funny word for it. If you, it's like point in the sense of a point goes to, or give point to. If it's a verb, I'm not sure if in tennis point is a verb. Not that this kind of point, but you know, scoring. I think you're right. I think this ought to move into game. And let's start by just moving it all. One beautiful thing about refactoring is you just take a small step and you take another small step and you take another small step, and before you know it, all the little changes come together to form something that usually I can't visualize the big change up front. And that's evolutionary design. All right, so let's do a move method. Oh, I can't move one point itself. We can move its guts, though. So let me copy this. Let's go over to game and let's just slap in something here. So in the refactoring book, see, I had it on hand this time. I was prepared. Move function 198. Move function, one of the main things it does, one of the steps is copy the function to the target context, that's here, and adjust it to fit its new home. And what I have to adjust here is say, you know what? We don't need game. Yeah, every refactoring usually has multiple steps. There. So that we haven't done move function. This is part one of move function, is copy it into a new home and fix it up. So now you see it also got rid of those, something that made me uncomfortable, makes me uncomfortable, is when I see something dot something dot something. That's smelly to me. But now let's try this. Okay, so this looks like it builds. In fact, let me just run tests. Nothing is calling it yet. And the reason I run the test is to commit this, so I don't lose that change. And now I should be able to make this a delegating function. Say game 1 point player name. And that should work just fine. And that's better. And now game is starting to get, right? And now it's starting to do something. 1 point game. This is kind of funny. Maybe it's not funny. Maybe this is fine. Score. Announcement rules. It sets up the chain of rules. Does it need? Yeah, it probably needs this explicit type. I don't think. Excuse me while I cough. I think it needs this explicit type because, yeah, otherwise it says it's any, which is, it's not any. It's very much of type announcement rule. And then it walks through the chain to say which announcement should apply. And maybe that's okay, although I kind of wish there's something about making the announcement and passing game into each one that seems wasteful. And that's why it lives here. Should it also be in game? Let's move it to game. What the heck? Same steps. I'm going to copy the whole thing, paste it, and fix it. So everywhere it's got game, here I should just say replace game with self. And this should build. I don't like that it returns an optional, but maybe we can change that. Like I think I can make it return a non-optional, and that just makes me happier. So then this is simply forwarding to the game again. Interesting. Tennis Game 1 has almost nothing in it except for what it's required to have, which you see here. It has to implement these three things, and that's because the shape of the API, the internal API, has to be the same for all the tests. And now we got rid of that stinky optional. Announce tie self. I mean, that's better. I'd rather pass in self. So in terms of cleaning this up, this is about as minimal as it comes now. Except I don't think we need this import. Call me funny, but I don't want to import Foundation if I don't need it. Foundation has a bunch of stuff in it, and nothing in here uses it, but it's just Swift. And Swift itself just becomes more and more powerful. Would it be better to look up an enum of the announcement that routes to the correct announcement? Maybe. That's an interesting idea. But this is better. Like a dictionary of announcements. Maybe. Except what's interesting about this is that this follows the design pattern of chain of responsibility, where announce tie gets the first crack. So these come in order. And announce win, then we try to apply that. Announce advantage, and finally it's like, okay, just announce plain old score. So that's why they're that way. Yeah, exactly. Then it walks through. You can see it asks, does the rule apply? If so, return, and it should never hit here. That's there. This is just a placeholder, just to satisfy Swift. This is all looking much better. The game itself now has more sense to it, and it has more sense as an object. This is interesting. I still, what is it about passing? Why is it passing the self in? Let's go to one of these. Announce win? I don't know. Oh, there's some smells in here. First, a little complex, but that return, you see it's grayed out there. App code grays it out, and it offers us the suggestion, you know, we want to remove that. When I do, it reformats, because app code, at least the default rules, is of the opinion that if you call this dot that, that's fine. But if you're calling this dot that dot that dot that, that it should lay it out vertically, which makes sense if it's functional programming and you're chaining functions, right? But it doesn't make sense if you're digging in, dig. And maybe you like the return statement there because it's kind of ugly. I don't know. I'm just going to commit it by running the tests. What else do we have here? Okay, let's start at the top. Announce tie is very clear. It applies if possible win could also be a game function. that does the 2 checks. What's smelly about it is passing in the game where game does hold on to the 2 players, but announcement doesn't really need the game. Maybe it just needs the 2 players? Or maybe it needs the 2 scores? No, it needs the names. It needs the names of the players. Like what if for announce tie, let's just take one. We didn't pass in game. It needs more than the score because it uses the player's name here. Oh wait, that's not the player's name. That's the score's name. Ooh. Ooh. Let's pass in the 2 scores. Let's do this. And we'll try this just for announce tie. This should work. How to do this in small steps? I think what I will do, there's no like introduce parameter thing that will automatically create properties, but let's just try, let me just try score 1, Control Alt P. Nah. Well, I might have messed it up. Yeah, not in this ID. We don't have that much. We do have change signature, which we'll use. But let me set it up where score 1 is a score. Does this try? Return from it. Okay. Highlight game. I'm going to get there in some small steps, but there's introduce variable, extract closure, extract function. I'm going to keep going like this for a second. Bear with me. And I'm trying to move in the smallest steps. It's making commits each step of the way. Look at these lovely commits here. The messages are not helpful, but the quantity of commits is, and their size. Excuse me for a second. All right, now let me try doing a change signature. Let's see if is it this? Yes. This is one of the best features that they added for Swift. I'm going to make a new parameter. This is going to be score 1. I'm going to give it an external name, no internal name. This type will be score. And the default value is not what we think of as the default value. In fact, in some of their other IDEs, they're more specific and say this is the value at the call site. And so this will be game player 1 score. And this should just magically, that's an interesting feedback. Let me take this step, and this should pass. No? Oh, it's not game. Okay. Revert. Why did it start there? Oh, welcome back, Mudshark. All right, let me try this again. Yeah, my AutoMod tripped on Mudshark's name. Okay, where are we? Announcements. Announcements. We are going. Let me try this change again. Change signature. Add a parameter. Score 1. No internal name. Type is score. This is not game dot. It is self dot. Score 1. Score. Player 1 score. And let's try that and see if this passes. Good. Because what it did, if we go to where it's called, there. Yeah, it did the funny thing, and there's some things to clean up about it. We'll get there. So it's passing it in now. It's passing it in. Now I can say, assign it. Oh, I didn't have to do it in this order. Let me try something. Let me get rid of these and do it from the inside out. Say self score 1 equals score 1 and say, yes, create the property. That's better. I wish it inferred the type, but it doesn't. There. That was a better way to do it. All right, let's do that again. Add score 2, type score, default value self player 2 score, refactor, run tests, which does a commit. And now say self score 2, which doesn't exist. Yes, create a property for that. Lovely. Now that that's in place, I should be able to replace this with score 1. And it should pass. Oh, this is better. And this with score 2. And that passes. All these micro commits. This is score 1. And this is also score 1. Oop. Oh. Oh, this is good. Now, I should be able to get rid of that property. Interesting. And now I can, now that that's gone, I can say I get rid of the game parameter. And this is looking much better than it used to, right? Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it. Announce tie. Given 2 scores, does it apply? Well, it applies if they're equal. And if we announce, if score 1 is a possible advantage, we say deuce. Otherwise, we say like love all or 15 all. Nice. Let's go back here. Okay, let's clean this up. We don't need self dot, so we can remove that. And same here. And that gets rid of sort of dot, dot, dot stuff. This is better. Isn't it? I'm liking this. All right. Can we do the same thing for announce win? Let's find out. Win for player 1, win for player 2, score, difference. Yeah, it sure looks like it. Let's do it again. Same moves. Let me be bold and do it. No, let me not be bold. Every time I'm bold, I regret it. Well, not every time. So that passes. And self score 1 will score 1. And that should pass. Only win should actually use the names. Interesting. It's funny that they have different sort of shapes like that, but that makes sense. All right. Whoop. One more parameter, score 2. You see how this stuff starts to fly? And how I experiment with, let's change the order. And this happens as I am as I'm working in dynamic reteaming ensemble programming, mob programming, with fellow IL people, which is amazing, amazing. Somebody will make a change, and it's not unusual. The change itself is fine, and most programmers would be content with that. But we're trying not just to improve the code, we're trying to improve ourselves. Oh, there's a thought about what makes the difference between developers and developers. Most developers just want to improve the code. Well, all developers do want to improve themselves. But are you focusing on it as you code, where you say, somebody else in the ensemble or the mob will say, oh, John, wait, back up. Instead of creating the property first, why don't we use caller create so that you use it and that will generate the property? And I'll be like, oh, okay, back up. And we actually do that. We will either undo or typically, reset git or git checkout dot to say, okay, try again, do the same steps. Hey, that's better. And we learn together that instead of going this way to make 2 changes, it's easier to go like in a different order. All right. This is score 1. And I love TCR, moving in the smallest steps. Because it is committing every single time. So announce win will probably still need a reference to game so we can get the actual names. Yeah, something or something. We'll see. Or we pass in the players. I think that game is now no longer used except there. Good. Now I can get rid of it. You seeing the pattern here? All right, and then I'll go to where it's called. Remove unnecessary self, and join these up. Liking it. The reason I said a match object is because score 1 and score 2 would always travel together. A match. Oh, match. Well, game, I think, is sort of, maybe you're using, maybe match is the correct word for game. I don't know tennis. The game has several matches, right? They keep playing each other until, and it's like, okay, you won that round. So I think match. Is that right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm understanding is that game is the wrong name. That it should be match. Let me know what you think. I'm going to keep going ahead with these changes. Score 1, score 2. There's some other yucky stuff in here. Like, I'm not liking this. Why do I say that? Why do I say I'm not liking this? And maybe it's fine, but the reason is when it's only 4 lines of code. And the reason is I'm not even looking at the details of it. I'm just looking at the shape of it. This is something that Llewellyn Falco teaches, and maybe I should offer as a resource to you, is Llewellyn has this interesting training of sensitizing yourself to code smells. And doing that with an exercise where you don't have enough time to read the code. Excuse me. All you have to do, all you're doing is basically glancing at it, and you have to make the call. Is this like cleaner, or is this complicated? And offhand, that just looks complicated. Okay, let's go and rename game. Not that. Not that. I'm trying to use the direct commands instead of refactor this. Okay, Shift F6. Match. That's better. Better to reflect the actual domain, right? All right. Announce advantage. Oh, and then we've got these names here, which are hard-coded. The code didn't support doubles, 2 against 2. Player ought to be team. Ought to, but not required to. Not for this case. Yagni, you ain't gonna need it, because that's not what we're shipping. And that's the kind of thing where you would say, like, if you were delivering this, you would say it's not the full functionality of a tennis scoring match. In fact, as we know, it's not doing the right thing of flipping whose score gets announced first, but it's a step towards it, and we deliver the slice. So here I theorize that this should not be player 1, that this should be game player 1 name. Yep. If it commits, it's good. And here this should be player 2 name. And so what this suggests to me is that I need to pass in 2 players, not 2 scores. Yeah, it's not in the requirements yet, right? Will it be later? Well, we'll see. First, let's ship this and see how it goes and get feedback about what's the next most important step. Because the buyer might say, yeah, but we don't actually do doubles at the moment. We actually need this other thing fixed first. Let's pass in the players. player one. This is going to be player, self player one, and see if that passes. And we'll do caller create of player one as a player. Good. And once more, whoops. Player two. Self player two is what we want. I kind of like how they have it here. I wish they wouldn't call it default value. Maybe I should suggest that to JetBrains, is to say, look, in this other ID of yours, you call it, I forget what they call it, but like call site or something. I don't know. Oh, not players. Player two. And run tests. And caller create. Like that. So now I should be able to say, in fact, let me be bold. Say everywhere in here where we have game.player1, I should just be able to say player one. And if it doesn't work, it'll revert. Good. Let me do that again. We should have used game and init to extract the scores and still just pass game in? Oh, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. In any case, boy, the frog in my throat. I think maybe, maybe not. And that's the nice thing about refactoring. And if in an ensemble, and maybe we'll do this next time, is we'll say, well, instead of debating about it, a nice pattern, mob programming pattern, is to say, well, let's try it both ways. Let's try it this way, and then let's try it that way, and see which we like better. The name of this pattern, I think, is like argue in code, not about code. In any case, game now goes away. Game is now the wrong name for it anyway. So this goes away, and this goes away. Scores imply two numbers. Interesting thoughts. What about here? This also has... This doesn't use the scores at all. It just uses their names. And it's not the names of the players. That's a little confusing. It's the name, it's the spoken name of the score. Maybe name is the wrong word for that. It's this here. Love 15, 30, 40. Tennis name? I'm not sure. Yeah, these are interesting things, and obviously I don't know tennis. But what do you want to pass in here? Because the most minimal thing, I think I want to pass in the minimal thing, because we're discovering different shapes as we go, and point name. Ooh, oh, I'm liking that. Let me do that real quick. But I want to experiment with passing in the minimum amount rather than having to dig into, we were passing in game or match. And I don't want to dig in. Let's rename this to point name. Love it. That's better because name was just confusing to me. And let's pass in. Oh, this is 2 scores. Yeah. Okay, so that's just like the other ones. Okay, let's do this. And then we'll wrap it up. This will be the last thing for today. So this will be score 1. Like that. And let's hold on to this. Right, and I can do this in a different order where I say this is score 1 point name. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to pass in the point name instead, but I don't like that. I'd rather pass in the scores to be that this was the debate I was having internally. But my instincts took over, and I just passed in a score rather than the point name. And I kind of like having the same shape, but passing in the score rather than a string. Let's keep going. Score 2. Player 2 score. And this will be score 2. Color create. Score. And now let's use it here. And now we can get rid of that, which lets us get rid of that. Very cool. One last cleanup is let's go to where these are called. I kept forgetting to clean up the. Oh, is that it? Here, this one. Let's remove unnecessary self all throughout. And then let's join the lines. There. Some different shapes. Maybe this is okay. It is a definite win on this front. This code is much improved, I think. This is still yucky. And I'm also, one takeaway from this is that I just had a mentoring session right before this, and that's probably why I've had the frog in my throat this whole time. And that was with a half-hour break. We'll see. Patterns of working, patterns of coding. Anyway, this was a lot of fun for me to try some different things. It is too much talking, especially once we get into Twitch, where it's only me. You, alas, are in this style, at least limited to the chat. But I'm so glad to have you. Thank you for joining. Hey, there've been some other folks lurking. Glad you came by. And next week, I will not be streaming. Got a nephew's wedding that I'm going to. So I will see you in 2 weeks. So Other closing thoughts are folks in the USA. I don't care if you like. G. Paul put it this way. G. Paul Hill. He says, "Vote Democrat, not because the Democrats are like good people that we want to support. They're not on our side, but rather because we've got to get the Republicans out. So vote, vote, vote." And if you've been watching on Twitch after the fact, thank you for coming by. Consider subscribing. It's a little bit of pocket change for me if you subscribe on Twitch. And if you're watching on YouTube, train the algorithm. Give this a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Get out and vote. Let's preserve democracy. Let's fight for the rights of the underprivileged and the underrepresented, and make this a better world. Part of that is coding better, coding well, coding in a way that's kind to our future selves and to our team and to the user, the company. It's just, I like this. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Oh, in 2 weeks also, the U.S. is going to go through our lovely daylight savings time change next week. So we'll figure that out. Okay? Take care.